Hi! Welcome to part 1 of my review featuring Violet Sky, the Post-Apocaweird game, role-playing in a world where humanity is free. This role-playing game is somewhat different from your average post-apocalypse experience, concerning the way that the characters obtained magical abilities, but also it's a more optimistic setting. The player characters feel, in fact, quite heroic. If you like Judge Dredd, you can actually play as a Judge Dredd sort of character. I actually made a video about Judge Dredd. I recommend that you check it out. The link will be shown on screen. Because this role-playing game has some similarities with the setting of Judge Dredd, just a few. And mechanically speaking, Violet Sky has a very interesting tactical resource management when it comes to gameplay. Now let's talk about the quality of the PDF. When you purchase Violet Sky, you obtain several files. You have a character sheet. You have a sheet to organize your spells, that is, it is divided in spell cards. You also obtain a map of the setting, which is ruined Europe. There's also a Game Master cheat sheet. Perhaps you could use it with your Game Master screen to run this game. And there is a fillable character sheet that you can download for free. Now, when it comes to criticisms, I did manage to find a few typos, but they were quite minor. The organization of the document is great. The graphic design looks good. You have black and white illustrations that fit the theme, the setting. Everything is well written and explained. And you have bookmarks and hyperlinks, so it's going to be very easy for you to navigate the entire PDF. Overall, the quality is great. Now, let's talk about the setting. It is the year 3200, and things don't look bright for humanity. Exactly 1000 years ago, our technology started to develop at an insane rate. This had its positive effects, but they were quickly overshadowed by the negatives. The situation on our planet Earth became worse each year, and each time someone tried to halt the oncoming doomsday, the attempts were stopped by corrupt billionaires and political fanatics who day and night spread propaganda just so they could live comfortably a second longer. So as you can see, this is somewhat similar to real life. The cities became bigger and more populated. The difference between rich and poor was now counted in light years. Less and less mortals could own their own land, and having at least a few rooms to live became a luxury, thanks to insane property prices. Infinite amounts of money were spent on the army, useless technological advancement, and strange businesses between the elites. In the year 2300, mankind had its first contact with an alien civilization, but they always knew we were here. The reptiles, as they called themselves, existed long before us. They worked in the shadows, and only they had access to magic, which was hidden inside their planet. They used spells to change fate, give birth to new life, and to control us. They were our judges from the beginning, and they would decide how our future will look. They were not happy. Humanity had become evil, and planet Earth became a planet of death. Their verdict, our sentence, was death. Reptiles started to appear everywhere on our planet. Their teleportation plates were hidden since thousands of years, underground, inside ancient buildings, and even in abandoned modern structures. The reptiles have great plans for our species. We were destined to be their slaves, but our technology became too dangerous, more powerful even than their magic. Every day, several hundred people died on every side of the conflict. Whole cities were wiped out by magical rituals, or by massive bombs dropped by the governments of the world in order to remove as much of reptiles as possible in one go. Most humans lived in underground vaults, and those who wandered too far quickly died, or even worse, they were enslaved by the alien species. Their memories were wiped and they became mindless revenants. In the year 2324, not only was the War of Existence finally over, but people's lives were also changed forever. The United States, the European Union, and the Ragnar Zone financed the construction of planetary bombs that were to be aimed directly at the planet from which the reptiles came. Human spacecraft were sadly unable to travel that far, so we had to use their own technology, the teleportation plates. Soldiers captured Reptide shamans and tortured them, forcing them to reveal all secrets the plates held. Our scientists deciphered the secrets, set the alien planet as the destination for the teleportation plates, placed the bombs, and our enemy's planet was torn to pieces. The violet energy that resided inside the star spread across the cosmos, and magic became real in our previously scientific world. After the war, our planet became a wasteland. Mountains were leveled to the ground, plains became mountains, and cities fell to ruin. The reptiles that remained on Earth went into hiding. Humans left their vaults and woke up to a new world. A world where magic is real and everyone is free. Sure, the politicians back then tried to control us again, but we didn't listen. We slaughtered every remaining ruler, millionaire, and person that wanted the old dystopian times back. Many years have passed since then. New settlements were built, and many factions were born. Still, no government has risen from this chaos, but humans slowly managed to reconquer Earth. Everything became weird as magic and technology combined. Amidst this chaos, you stand, unautonomous, a free human, and you can go and do whatever you wish. You have a name, a gun, and some friends on your side. Will you be a hero, a ruler, a savior that will build a new world, or a tyrant that will return it to chaos? You decide. When it comes to the basics of this role-playing game, this is about discovering the fate of your heroes. During your journey, you will encounter dangerous and powerful monsters, bizarre ruins, and unusual people. The players participate as autonomous, the protagonist player characters of this game, and you have a game master, of course. As you go on your adventures, exploring the world, defeating monsters, and collecting loot, your autonomous will change and gain experience. You will develop relationships, you will explore your personal goals, you will become more powerful, unlocking new possibilities and skills. In Violet Sky, you can play each session with the same group, so you can create a series of adventures, a campaign. You can also play adventures from start to finish within a single session as a one-shot. It works fine either way. You have information on the basics on how to play a role-playing game. To play this RPG, you will need, of course, pencils, erasers, paper. When it comes to dice, you need a 20-sided die, a 6-sided die, and a 4-sided die. I recommend that you obtain a handful of each of these types of dice. When it comes to tokens, you also need coins or stones or chips or whatever to represent desperation and invention. You will need 2 tokens for each player. These tokens should have 2 different sides, one for invention and one for desperation. So using coins sort of tokens is a good idea. Some special abilities may later introduce new tokens into the game, so it's a good idea to have some spare tokens or markers ready for those abilities. When it comes to creating a character, autonomous are free people in the ruined Europe. These are player characters who are free to go wherever they wish and do whatever they want, or at least attempt it. They are not bound by factions, obligations, or jobs, and they stick together. During your adventures, you may encounter other non-player autonomous. They are also traveling through Europe, searching for wealth, fame, and their destiny. Will they become friends or foes? To create an autonomous character, you choose your vocation. You note down the choices, tricks, and equipment of the vocation. You also answer your story question. Each of your 6 attributes start at 8, and you distribute a number of points amongst those attributes. You also choose 1 gift, and you fill out remaining details concerning stamina, stress, defense, the name of your character, interesting facts, and looks. Let's talk about attribute scores and vocations. Each character in Violet Sky has 6 attributes, which are might, an ability used when fighting in melee combat, when trying to crush or lift things with your bare hands. Might also determines how much stamina points you have, which protect you from damage. There is also sense, which represents all the basic senses and, most importantly, perception of the character. It is used mostly while fighting with ranged weapons and precise melee weapons. You also have speed. This is the movement speed of your character, and coordination. It is used when trying to dodge something or if you want to get somewhere really fast. It's also used for sneaking. You also have logic, which stands for brain power and intelligence of the character. You use it when trying to solve problems with brains rather than brawn. Logic is also used when trying to craft cool items from junk. There's also mysticism. This is wisdom and knowledge of the bizarre, non-human, and things that do not concern science. Characters with high mysticism can use magic, defend against it, or identify weird artifacts. You also have aura, the charisma, looks, and speechcraft of the character. Characters with a high aura can later unlock very helpful leadership-related tricks that help the whole party. Whenever a character in Violet Sky will attempt to do something, for example use complicated machines, a check will be required. This means the player rolls a d20 and has to roll equal or lower than the attribute level they are using. Now, when it comes to vocations, they determine who you are and what you do in the world of Violet Sky. Are you a mighty techno-barbarian that hunts for equally mighty beasts? An insane driver that transports people from town to town at breakneck speeds? Or maybe just a local farmer that dreams about owning a mutated cow and being left alone, far from the rest of those freaks? Each player chooses one vocation, and each vocation grants different things, which must be noted on the character sheet. So you have equipment, choices, which determine the extra equipment you get, and they expand your character's backstory. You also have tricks, probably the most important thing. Tricks are special skills, which grant you passive bonuses or maybe activated to do something cool. Then you have story questions. A story question is something for the character to develop as a sort of backstory. The player should answer this question, and the game master should include all the details given by the player into the game to add to the setting and the story. Perhaps they could result in plot hooks and events. Your vocation does not necessarily determine who you are now, but who you were in the past. You still get to keep all the neat stuff you learned and earned equipment, but you do not have to continue with your vocation. You could think of vocations as archetypes or character classes in other games. Each vocation at power level 1 represents a typical human that performs that profession, and everyone with that vocation has the same basic tricks. At higher power levels, players may learn unique tricks to customize their autonomous. It is thus advised that each player picks a different vocation. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to look at some of the vocations. As you can see, this setting integrates some things that could be considered real in our everyday lives, but they also add a very cool gonzo twist to it, allowing for all sorts of weird magics and strange mutations. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending the Right Through RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.